Motion design is at the forefront of visual communication. With the growth of digital culture, motion graphics has become one of the fastest expanding areas of design. You may think of it just as an animation or moving stuff on the screen, but motion design can create emotion and allows a wide range of visual means to convey a message, idea, or story in a relatively short time. Hi, my name is Eran Stern and I'm a veteran motion designer and a master trainer for a few Adobe apps, including After Effects, which is arguably the best tool in the business for this task. So in this lab, I'll help you to elevate your animation skills in After Effects using common animation principles such as staging, easing, timing, and appeal, just to name a few. We will apply these techniques to a Photoshop multi-layered document and learn how to animate those layers using keyframes, masks, graphs, effects, and expressions. You'll need a basic understanding of After Effects to make the most out of this class, but I'll guide you through every step that you'll need to know, and you'll also have the workbook and the included exercise files, so you can join the ride and follow along. So without further ado, let's get started. Our first stop is Photoshop, where I already opened the file here that we are going to use. This design is based on a free Adobe stock template that I've modified to fit our needs. So I set it to an HD size and typed in a fictional Astro-Funk band that apparently conduct a concert that will take place in the Main Street Theater tonight at 9. So make sure to come because this is a one-night event only. So while we're here, we can start to think about the animation and how we want to reveal the layers and the supporting elements. For example, I want to split the main title here to 3 individual words and reveal each one of them coming from below in a staggering style. I will also replace the astronaut image here and his guitar with an animated version and maybe also create a better Starfield animation. So now that I have a plan in mind, I'll switch to After Effects and then click on the AE icon to hide the home screen, and then I'm ready to import the file. Now, before we'll start, I must tell you that I'm assuming that you have basic knowledge of After Effects, so I'm not going to cover the basic stuff. If you feel that you need a refresher for the foundations, make sure to watch the Max Lab called Beginning Motion Design Must-Know Techniques by Noel Honing. Alright, so now that I've set things right, I'm going to make sure the project panel is highlighted and I'll double-click to invoke the import dialog. From the footage folder in the exercise files, I'll select the astrofunk.psd. This is the same image that we've just seen inside Photoshop, and I'll click open. Over here in the import kind, I'll select composition, retain layer sizes, meaning that After Effects will create a composition and will crop each one of the layers to the minimum size needed. Now, I'm not using layer styles, so none of these radio buttons matter, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. This will create a composition over here in the project panel, and we'll also add a folder with all of the necessary layers. Alright, I'll double click on the composition, which is going to open up over here, and let's just make it our own. The first thing I'll do is go to the composition menu, choose composition settings, and I'm going to change a few of the settings. I'm going to change the frame rate from the default 29.97 to something which is more easy to work with. Since I'm in Europe, I'm going to change it to 25. I'm also going to highlight the duration timecode and type in 10 period, and this is going to change it to 10 seconds. Now I can click OK, and I'm also going to go to the View menu and clear the guides. Those are inherited from the Photoshop design. If we do need to see those guides again, we can ask After Effects to show us the title Action Safe Guides from here. Alright, I'll click and hold again and switch it off, and now I'm going to select all the layers by marqueing around them from the bottom until the top. Then I'll right click on one of them, and from the create options, I'm going to choose convert to editable text. And this is going to scan the document and convert all of the text layers to After Effects text layers. This means that I can now animate them and I can scale them, and there are no longer pixel-based layers. All right, I'm also going to click on one of these label colors and switch it to, let's say, yellow. And this is just so it will be easy to visualize those text layers. Then I'm going to click somewhere over here to deselect my composition. And finally, I'll go to File, select Save. I'll navigate to the same folder. You can save it wherever you want. And I'm going to borrow the comp from the final one. So I'm not going to overwrite it. Let's just add the word band. So Astro Funk Band, which is going after the name of this fictional band that we have over here. And that's it for this stage. Now that we have all the layers in place, armed with our initial animation plan, we can start the animation process. And along the way, learn how to reveal text using masks and also use the built-in animation presets, as well as finesse the motion with the graph editor. All right, so our first task is to select layer number 2. This is our main title, Astro Funk Band. And I'm actually going to duplicate it. So you can go to the edit menu and choose duplicate, or you can use Command or Control D. Now, for the moment, I'm going to switch off the visibility of the original one. This is just going to serve us as a placeholder, so we will know how to design and make sure that the text is in place. All right, so I'll double click on this little T, and this is going to select the entire thing, which is also going to switch me to the text tool, as well as show us the character panel on screen. All right, I'm going to select those last two words and then press backspace or delete to remove them, and another backspace to just leave myself with the first word. Then I'll switch back to the selection tool, and I actually want After Effects to follow the text that I have on screen. So to do so, I'm going to select this layer, then press return to highlight the name, then press backspace to remove it, and then press somewhere else, and this is going to tell After Effects that it needs to show us whatever is written over here. Excellent. All right, now I'm going to select this text and I'm going to animate it. Now, this is probably the most sophisticated and complex part of the entire lab. So listen carefully. The first thing that I'll do is make sure that the text is selected, select the rectangle tool. This is going to create a mask, and I'm going to mask this layer. So something like this. Now I'll return to the timeline, and near the word text, there is a little animate option. I'll click on this little play icon and I'll select position. And this is going to add a specific per character animator to the text. Now, the reason that we are working like this is because of the render order. Notice that this animator is going to be calculated before the mask, which means that if I'm going to take only the y-axis, this is the one that I'm hovering on top of, and scroll it down, our text is now going off screen, meaning it is going outside the boundaries of this mask. Now we want to animate it in. So I'll create a keyframe over here at the beginning of the timeline. Then I'll click on this timecode, type in 20 to go 20 frames forward, and I'll set it back to 0. If I'll return to the beginning and press spacebar to preview what we've created, this is the animation. Now I want to make it a little bit smoother. So I'll select the word position, and then I'll go to the animation menu, and over here under keyframe assistant, I'm going to create an easy ease animation, basically creating some sort of arcs. Now notice the keyboard shortcut here is F9. I'm going to use this keyboard shortcut from this point onward instead of going all the way to the menu. You can also right click on those keyframes if you like from the timeline. In any case, I'll select it And this is going to change the keyframes from a diamond shape to an hourglass shape. And it's also going to give us the opportunity to click on the graph editor icon over here and to edit the graph. Now, very important, before I'll start doing anything, I'll go to the options here and make sure that I'm editing the speed graph, which is set by default on my machine, but you may see something else. You may see the value graph. So make sure you're editing the speed because this is what we want to do. I'll click on this last keyframe, I'll hold down Shift, and then I'll start to drag it to the left until it can't move anymore. So fast in, slow out. We can click again on the graph editor icon to hide it, go to the beginning, and press spacebar to preview the animation. All right, what we need to do now is duplicate 2 more copies and switch the words and make sure that they are reflecting the same original design. So I'll make sure I'm somewhere over here where I can see the word. I can collapse it. I can select it here in the timeline, meaning the entire layer. And I'll press Command D, Control D on the Windows side, and I'll do it again. So now I have 2 additional copies of the same thing. Now I'll switch on the original text, I'll select it, and I'll double click on it, just so I can select the second word, funk. You can of course just go ahead and type it if you like, but I'm just going to copy it to memory, switch it back off, go back to the second duplicate, in our case layer number 3, double click to highlight the word, and then press Command or Control V to paste it. And then let's repeat the same thing again. So just so it will be easier to see, I'll switch off the visibility for layer 3 and 4, switch on the visibility for layer 5. This is our reference layer. Double click, and by the way, you can double click on the word itself from the composition panel, copy it to memory by pressing Command or Control C, switch it off, go back to the layer that you want to replace, double click on the little text, and press Command or Control V. All right, we almost done. Now I want to make sure all the layers are visible. So just make sure that those eyes are enabled. And then we need to take each one of them, hold down Shift, and drag it to its place. So this is bend, and this is going to be funk. And now we can select our reference layer, and we can either hide it or just say goodbye to it by pressing backspace or delete. Now if I'll go to the beginning and press spacebar, this is what we have. Now what we want to do is create some sort of a cascade animation. So I want to start each one of the layer in a different timing. I'll go to 2 seconds by highlighting the timecode panel and typing in 200. And then I'll start with the astro. This is our first layer. I'm going to just drag it, hold down Shift, so it will snap to the 2-second mark. Then I'll go to 205, so 5 frames after. I'll select the funk layer, layer number 3, and do the same thing. Start to drag it while holding down Shift, so it will snap to the playhead. And for the last layer, I'll move to 210, so another 5 frames forward. I'll select the layer, hold down Shift, and drag it to its place. Then if I'll go to the beginning and press spacebar, we can get a sense of what we've created. A nice reveal of those 3 layers of text. All right, I told you this was the most complicated part of the entire production here. Now let's have some fun with a built-in animation that will help us to animate the second layer of text. What I'm referring to as the second layer, but actually it's layer number 5 because we split all the other layers. All right, so I'll select this one. I'll go to the beginning, and now I'm going to click on Effects and Presets, which is going to show us this panel. I'm going to drill down the animation presets and notice that under text here, under Animate In, we have tons of built-in animations which ships with After Effects. Now you can go ahead and try each one of them on your own, but I'm going to go to the last one, Wipe Into Center. And while this text is selected, and while I'm at the beginning of the composition, I'll double click on it to apply it to the layer. And now again, to check that it really worked, I'll go back to the timeline, highlight it, press spacebar, and you can get a sense of how this is happening. Now, obviously, we want this to happen after our text is already revealed. So let's just drag the cursor here to 220 and then take this layer and move it so it will start over here. And you know what? Just so it will be easier to see, I'm going to select and drag it up. And this is just a visual aid to help us see which layer comes first. For the last one, I'll select it, one night only. I want it to start after those 4 layers. So let's move to 3 seconds. I'm going to take it and place it above all of these layers and just drag it to place. Once again, you can hold down Shift if you like to snap it to the current time indicator. I'll return to the effects and presets. I'll drill up. I'll basically close the animation presets and I'll open up the blur and sharpen. What I would like to do in this case is use one of After Effects effects to reveal it. And I'm going to use the fast box blur to achieve this. So while this layer is selected, I'll double click on it, and this is going to show us the effect controls and will also allow us to change the blur radius. So my plan is basically to blur the heck out of it. Let's go with 130, which makes it almost invisible here. And I'll create a keyframe over here by clicking on this stopwatch. Then I'll go to 6 seconds by typing 600, and I'll set it all the way back to 0. And this is going to create this animation. So just to summarize what we've done so far, we've used masks and text animators to create a custom ease with the graph editor, harnessing one of the common animation principles, which is easing. Then by repeating elements and cascading layers, we've ticked 2 more animation principles, and we've also spiced it up with this mystery blur exposing the last title, giving the viewer enough time to read and digest all the textual information on the screen. To make the animation flow more smoothly and to tell a better story, we'll create few secondary animations. These will help to set the stage for our main hero, the astronaut and his guitar, but they will get some special love in the next part. So for now, we're going to do all of the above using a handful of techniques such as matting, parenting, and of course, few effects to help us glue it all together. Now I know it may sound complicated, but I promise to make it easy and fun. So let's get started by selecting the space circle layer and animate it. Now this layer is going to matte or hide the stars, and I want to recreate the stars in a moment. So for now, I'll switch off the visibility of layer number 8 stars and only concentrate on this gradient circle. What I want to do is animate its position. Now I can obviously open up the transform and go to the position, but a faster and a more efficient way to work is just press the letter P. And this is going to isolate this value or property which starts with the letter P, position. S for scale, R for rotation, A for anchor point, and T for opacity. But this time we want to animate the position. Now I actually want to animate it from the end, meaning that I'll go to, let's say, 1 second and 15 frames. And I'm giving you those numbers because obviously I have some experience with this little teaser, but you can go your own way. So I'll create a keyframe over here, and then I'll go to the beginning, and then I'll hover on top of the first value, this is the X, click and drag to the right until it's going to be outside the frame. So the value doesn't really matter, but I came up with 1778. I'll select the word position just by clicking on it. I'll press F9 to create an easy ease animation here. This is something that we already saw before. And then I'll click on the graph editor because I want to make sure that this is going to get the same ease. So again, just verifying that I'm still editing the speed graph, click on the last point, hold down Shift, and then just start to drag it so the animation, if I'll press spacebar, will look like this. Brilliant. Click again on the graph editor to return to the regular keyframes view, and we can collapse this layer. All right, let's do the opposite number for this white mask. Again, I'm going to go to the beginning here, and I want to animate it over a second. So because I know that I want to animate the position, I can hold down the option here on the Mac. This will be the Alt on Windows, plus Shift, by the way, and press the letter P. And this is not only showing us the position, but it's also creating a keyframe for us with the existing value. So I'm going to take this keyframe and drag it so it will be under the 1 second mark. And then as before, I'll hover on top of the X value and just move it so it will be outside of the screen. And you may need to do it a couple of times, or you can add the Shift key to multiply your mouse movement by 10. Then I'll repeat the same steps that I just showed you. Click on the word position, press F9, go back to the graph editor, select the last point, hold down Shift, and create this kind of an ease. Now I want this layer to start at 1 second, so I'll go to 1 second, then I'm just going to drag it so it will appear over here, and we can switch it off. Again, from the beginning, we can press spacebar to check how it's working. All right, now let's deal with this line. This is just an helper element, again, some secondary motion to help us understand what we are seeing here. But in this case, I'm actually going to show you another way to work with it. So instead of showing this mask, I'm going to click over here to switch off the mask and shape path visibility. And I'm also going to, let's say, show it to you over here at around 2 seconds, just so you'll see what I'm doing. I'll open up the transition category from the effects and presets. I'll scroll down and I'll select this linear wipe and double click to apply it to this line 1 layer. Now, what we want to do is use this transition completion and wipe it at the same time that everything is happening. But we first need to change the wipe angle. So I'm going to highlight this value and then type in -90 to basically just change the direction of the wipe. And notice that now if I'm going to do this number, it's going to reveal itself on screen. So what I would like to do is start from a value of 100% for the transition completion, and then animate it, let's say, over a second and 10 frames. So let's go to the beginning, create a keyframe for the transition completion, highlight the time code area, type in 11 and 0 or 110 to go to 1 second and 10 frames, and then change it to 0. Now, I'm not sure that this is the correct duration. So I need to see it in action and also maybe change the keyframe interpolation as After Effects is playing this result. So what I'll do is change the work area to just preview the, let's say, first 3 seconds. And then I'll go to the beginning, I'll press spacebar and watch as everything is coming together. While After Effects is doing this, I can take layers and I can move them. So let's say that I want to start this layer over here at around a second and 10 frames. And then maybe I want to control its timing. So again, while this is playing, I can select the layer, go to the animation menu, and see the keyframes by selecting this option, Reveal Properties with Keyframes, or memorizing the keyboard shortcut U. And now I can take this keyframe and maybe squeeze it so it will be faster. I can also click on the word transition completion, press F9 to convert it to an easy ease animation so it will be smoother, and I can continue to massage it until I feel that it is really doing what I want. So maybe a little bit faster here. Let's see it once again. Excellent. I think that we've got it. All right, I'll close the layer and I'll double click to expand the work area to the entire comp. And now let's create our star field. So to do it, I'll select the stars layer, and just to show you what we got, I'll go to, let's say, 3 seconds, switch it on. This is the reference design that we've got from the Photoshop file. I want to create something better and a little bit more engaging. So I'll switch it off, I'll go to the layer menu, and I'll create a new solid. I'll make sure to change the color to white. I'm also going to name this stars and click on make comp size just to be on the safe side. Then I can click OK. Now, because the stars layer, the original one, was selected, the new solid was created above it. If this is not the case on your end, just make sure that you drag it so it will be above the space circle layer. This is going to be very important in a moment. Now, I'll return to the effects and presets. I'll highlight the index search and start to type the word star. I'll close the animation presets, and I should see under the simulation category the CC starburst. Let's double click to apply it. This is going to create an animated starburst effect. Let's just change a few of the settings, but for the most part, it is actually exactly what we want. So we want to scatter them a little bit further. Let's go with a value of 300. I'm also going to change the speed, because currently if I'll press spacebar, they're actually moving very, very fast. So I'll highlight the speed, I'll change it to 0.1, then let's preview again. All right, much better. And I'm also going to change the size to 80. Now you probably noticed that those stars are visible from the beginning of our composition. And to reminisce this, we'll need to mask them as well as marry them to the motion of this space circle layer. So let's start with the masking process. The easiest way to work, there are a couple of ways to do everything inside After Effects, but I found out that using the circle effect is the preferred and easiest way to work. So I'll highlight the search field and start to type the word circle. I'll close the animation presets, and under the generate category, we have this circle effect. I'll select it and drag it underneath the starburst effect. So right now it's hiding everything, but we are going to use it as a cookie cutter to cut a hole and see our star field below. So first I'll change the radius to 585. Again, I know this number is going to work perfectly. And I'll switch the blending mode from none to stencil alpha, which is basically going to act almost like a layer mask if you're coming from Photoshop. So it will cut a hole into this layer. Now, all I need to do is play with this center target. So again, I'll click and move on the x-axis until this is hiding or showing us only the stars within the boundary of this gray space circle gradient. So something along those lines, 1758, this is the magic number in my case, is going to work perfectly. And the only thing that we need to do is make sure that this is moving with the motion of the circle. So to achieve this, all I need to do is marry the stars layer to the space circle. So make sure that you are seeing both of them, in my case at 2 seconds, and I'm going to grab the parent peak whip from the parent and link column and point this from the stars layer to the space circle, meaning that this is going to be the parent of this layer. And just so it won't be in my way, I'll select layer number 9, the original stars layer, and press delete to remove it. And now because we did it over here, after the motion has been completed, we can see that both layers are traveling at the same time. This is great. And because this is so nice, we are going to do the same thing for our titles. Not everything. Let's just take those 3 words, including the subtitle over here. So I'm going to parent everything to layer number 1, this line layer, and then animate this after it is finishing its reveal. So to do so, I'll select layer number 6, then hold down Shift and click on layer number 3. So all the text layers except of this one, I don't want to animate this guy. And currently I'm at the last frame. So I'm going to do the parenting from here. Parenting is sensitive to the timing that you are doing it in the timeline. So I'm going to take one of those pick whips and I'll parent it to the line. And you can see that now the line 1 layer becomes the parent of everything. This means that I can now return to it. And let's say that after 2 seconds, before we are going to see anything, we are going to scale everything slowly together. So I'm going to press S. This is going to show us the scale value. I'll create a keyframe for the scale. Then I'll go all the way to the end and I'll scale everything together to, let's say, around 120% to create some sort of a nice motion to the entire thing. Okay, let's go to the beginning and press spacebar to preview our intermediate creation. Wow, this teaser starts to shape itself and already looks so much better and much smoother, all thanks to some simple secondary animations with nice easing accompanied by this gorgeous auto-animating star field. And I already feel in space. Unbelievable how much you can achieve with few transparency and mattes here inside After Effects and how much time those parenting inheriting options can save you when you are working in the application. In the last part of this lab, we are going to replace these placeholder graphics of this astronaut with the 3D rendered animations that I've already prepared for you ahead of time. Then we will use the power of expressions to help us animate layers easily and professionally. Now don't worry, you don't need to write any complex code here. It's all ready for you and baked into the application, and it is super simple to control. I'm here to show you how. So let's get started by replacing the astronaut layer. I'll return to the timeline, select the astronaut layer over here. I'm at the beginning of the timeline in my case, and press delete to say goodbye to him. Then I'll return to the project panel and double click on a gray portion over here to invoke the import dialog. From the footage folder inside the exercise files, you have 2 files from me, this astronaut and a Fender Telecaster guitar. So shift select both of them and then click open if you are working on the Mac or import on the PC to bring them over to the project. Now we want to add them to this project, or to this timeline I should say. They are already in the project. So while they are both selected, I'll grab them and drag them on top of the composition name inside the project panel. And this is going to place them above all the layers in the middle of the screen. So the first task is to make sure they are starting at the correct timing as well as in the correct spatial, so in the correct space. Let's go to the end, then deselect everything by clicking somewhere over here. And I'll start with the Fender guitar. So I'll select it and I'll start to drag it while holding down the Shift key, which will constrain it on the horizontal axis. And what I'm trying to do is to make sure that the edge of the frame here is touching the edge of the comp. So something along those lines should look quite nice. Now I'll grab the astronaut layer, I'll press P, and we can start dragging him. Or I can just give you the number for the X, 1400. Now this is the correct place, but it's not the correct timing. I'll return to the beginning and I want to start both layers after the layers are already in motion. So the astronaut should start at 10 frames. I'm just going to move my cursor over here and again hold down Shift and move it so it will snap to this point. The guitar on the other hand should start at 20 frames. So I'm tapping in 20 and then I'm doing the same thing, grabbing it, holding down Shift and making sure that this is the place it starts. All right, let's animate the guitar first. This is an easier task than animating the astronaut, and you will see what I mean in a moment. But for now, I'm just going to press S to show the scale, create a keyframe for the scale value. I'll start it from 0, so we won't see any hint of the guitar at the beginning. This will help us to concentrate on the astronaut itself. But while he is moving and bouncing, I'm going to go all the way towards the end and just set it back to 100. So it's going to be a slow motion scaling up this guitar as if it is really in space. So now you get a sense of how it is working. And we also want to bring him into the frame. So I'll go to the beginning of this layer. Now I'm working on the astronaut layer, and I want to change only the Y position. So the animation here should be very, very fast, and then I want to add some overshoot to it. So to achieve this, I'm going to create a keyframe over here with this value, and then I'll move 10 frames forward by typing in, by the way, +10. This is another way to work here in the After Effects timeline. And then I'll create another similar keyframe by clicking on this diamond icon. Then I'll return to the first keyframe by clicking on Go to Previous Keyframe. And I'll start to move this time only the Y value. Now I'll hold down Shift so I can do it very fast, meaning that my mouse motion is going to be a bit more snappier. And the value that I'm looking for is -300. So -300 pixels above the screen. And if I'm going to press spacebar, you can see what it is doing, which is very, very boring. I want him to basically fall down and bounce a little bit, or maybe overshoot before he's going to settle in. And right now, what we have is just a simple linear motion. But we can add an expression to those two keyframes and ask After Effects to add all the complex physical motion automatically. And this is how you do it. So first, I want you to go to the Help menu over here and identify this option, Expression Reference. Notice the ellipses here. This means that if I select it, the default browser, in my case, Google Chrome, is going to open up with this help file. Now over here, you can read a little bit about expressions, you can watch some tutorials, but what we are after, if I'll scroll down, is the expression and automation section of the built-in After Effects help. So I'll scroll until I'll see the expression examples here, which is the last section under the expression. So again, expression and automation, expression examples. I'll click on it. This is going to show up this page, which is going to show you some expression ready-made ones that you can just use out of the box, or actually out of the browser. All right, so I'll scroll down until I'll see the overshoot expression. This is our hero. This is what we want to apply to our astronaut. I'll double click over here, which is going to highlight and select all the code, and I'll copy it to memory. This time using Edit Copy, but of course you can use Control or Command C. Now let's bring After Effects back to the front, and we need to apply this expression to the position value. And the way to do it is to hold down your Alt key on Windows, Option here on the Mac, and click on the stopwatch. And this is going to allow you to write some code in the After Effects timeline. Now we don't need to write any code, we only need to paste whatever we just copied and just click outside. I'm also going to give ourselves a little bit more room so at least we can see those first three values, which are the amplitude, the frequency, and the decay. These are things that we can control and change. But first, let's see what we are getting out of the box. So pressing spacebar will show you this nice bounce. And if you want to exaggerate it, you can actually change those values. I'm going to leave the amplitude as is, but I'm going to highlight the frequency and change it maybe to 20. And I'm also going to add more decay. And you are adding decay by actually lowering the value here. So my values here are 40 for the amplitude, I haven't changed it, 20 for the frequency, and 30 for the decay. And then I'll click somewhere else to accept this, and we can also close this scary code and hide it from view. And now if I'll press again spacebar, you'll see how nice this astronaut is drifting into its place. And that's it, I told you, it is super useful and very, very easy to use. And I welcome you to test other expressions under the expression samples that you are getting for free with the application. But now we are ready to test how everything is looking. So the last thing that I'll do here, I'll stop the preview, is select all the layers and switch the motion blur by clicking on one of them, which is going to turn all the switches for all the layers, including the composition. I'm going to go to the beginning, and then I'm going to hover on top of the composition panel and press the tilde key, or you can just double click on the name composition, which is also going to maximize the screen. And finally, I'll press spacebar or 0 on the numpad to see the final result. And that's it, you've made it. During the last hour, we've learned how to create a comp from a Photoshop file, reveal text using masks, and work with the graph editor. We also use parenting and effects in concert to create a cohesive animation. And finally, we expressed motion with some built-in expression. Now, if you manage to follow along and you complete all the stages in real time, I'm proud of you. You are awesome. If not, don't worry. There was a lot to take in here, and this is why you have both the recording and the workbook to help you review and catch up on the selected part or the entire lab if you wish to do so. Of course, I encourage you to go your own way and try other settings and different animations. After all, this is After Effects, one of the most creative and fun applications out there. So I want to thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again in one of my other sessions. And until then, stay safe, be creative, and keep the party going. Goodbye.